Blog Talk Radio, the world's largest online radio network.
I'm Milling About with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and David Koepp and our friend Tony, who's sitting in the back. John, sorry.
Yeah.
John.
Hello.
Hi.
Do you want to start over?
Take
Everybody
two.
gets another take. All right. John Camps.
This is
co-writer.
streaming. Okay, gotcha.
We didn't introduce properly. John Camps is the co-writer of the script.
Okay.
All right.
You guys, you got me at Baba O'Reilly. John, I am the hugest Who fan on the planet.
I remember when I saw the first cut that had that on it, and I was like, wait, we're not really going to have this song, are we? And I remember asking you, and you're like, yeah, we got that. I'm like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's an awesome song. It's a great song. It's probably the most famous E chords in rock and roll, I think. And so it started the movie perfectly, but it also set up our soundtrack, which we wanted to be rock and roll. Just from the beginning, when John and I started the script, we thought 2 guitars, bass, drum. Those are our instruments.
Right. Did you have how easy or hard was it to get the rights to that song?
Not so terribly hard. A little pricey. But the guys in the Who, God bless them, they got country estates.
They're touring again. Can you believe it?
They're going to do Quadrophenia?
Yeah, they're doing Quadrophenia.
That might take me a little too far back to college.
I know. I'm so happy. So yeah, it was a little pricey.
It was a little pricey, but fit so perfectly that we were willing to tailor some of our other choices around getting that.
Now, Joe, did you take spin classes? How did you prepare for this bike messenger?
I rode a bike, not a stationary one, a real one. But
zipping around Manhattan, huh?
Yeah, I started training at home in LA for 6 weeks, just riding every day, and then got here and rode every day while we were shooting. I certainly didn't want to make the film crew wait for me while I caught my breath, so I wanted to be in shape.
He got in fantastic shape because there were 2 components to it. One was just building up a level of endurance where he could ride 10 to 12 hours a day and act. It's hard enough to do one or the other, but to work while you're physically exhausted is tough. And then the other was when Joe came to New York, he was really eager to get out in traffic and see what that's like, because it's a whole different kind of riding. But now that he's in great shape and comfortable on the bike, he could now learn about, okay, it's not about you anymore, it's about what are the crazy people around you going to do.
Yeah.
You have to get really good at predicting.
You have to ride defensively.
Yeah, and offensively, which is the best defense.
Yeah.
So that was the second part of the training.
If you hesitate, that's where you get dangerous. You have to be confident and proceed with definite actions.
So any close calls while you were zipping around in New York traffic, just practicing for that matter?
Early on in the shoot, probably day 2 or 3, I was just warming up before we got our first shot and was riding around, and I was riding without a brake, which is silly, because if you're going to ride with a brake, you should be a better cyclist than what I am. I got to the point where I'm pretty good, but if you're going to ride without a brake, you need to be very good.
Yeah.
And so that was foolhardy of me, to be riding around without a brake. And I took off someone's side mirror.
No.
Yeah, and the guy was actually relatively cool about it. I mean, he was pissed at first. He got out of it, and, it was a little intimidating, but
then he saw who you are, and he said, "That's okay."
No, I don't think it was so much that. I did tell him, like, I'm really, I was just apologetic, and then I did tell him, I'm in the middle of shooting a movie, and they'll totally pay for your mirror. Just go over there and tell them about it. But I gotta go.
No, really, seriously, a movie. I'm not kidding.
And the guy, of course, wanted to come to the set and do all that too, right?
He did, and they paid for his mirror.
That's a little thing, the mirror. I crashed into the door of a taxi, no lie, and I was not wearing a helmet at the time.
Oh, you got to wear a helmet.
I know.
My one chance to proselytize on behalf of helmet wearing.
Absolutely.
You got to take care of your head. Joe's, however, not telling all the things. There were, he did. There was a crash where he went through the back of a cab window and got 31 stitches.
Oh my God!
So,
you're holding that one back.
Sorry, but that was actually while we were shooting.
That was during a take.
Yeah.
We had There's a bit in the end credits of the film that I shot on my iPhone. If you wait 30 seconds through the credits, you can see, what really happened to Joe that day. But
oh man, that must have hurt like hell.
Well, when it first happens, you're so flooded with adrenaline, it didn't hurt at all.
Where did you get hit?
It's here on my arm.
Oh, I see the scar.
Yeah, I got my elbows up, and all the boxing training came in handy, and otherwise, who knows what would have happened to my face.
Oh man.
But yeah, got the elbows up, and it could have been a lot worse because windshields are far more forgiving than trunks, say, or asphalt bumpers.
How could that actually happen that you went through a window of a cab? How does that happen?
You tell the story.
Yeah.
Well, we were shooting that day. We were on 6th Avenue. We had 3 lanes that were ours, a row of cones, and then there were 2 lanes of live traffic. Right. And so our rule within our lanes is, our lanes are filled with stunt drivers, with in their own cars, and they can speed up and slow down, but they're not to change lanes. Only the guy on the bike is supposed to change lanes, because then he can control the weave and know that nobody's going to cut him off.
Right.
Somebody cutting you off is the worst thing that can happen. That's when you run out of options. So we had just started a take, and Joe had just started in when from the other 2 lanes, some guy in a car with diplomat plates, the UN guys are widely known for not obeying all the laws per se. He decided that traffic was too slow on his side and he wanted our side, so he drove over the cones.
What an idiot.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly the word we used.
You didn't use that word.
He drove over the cones and into our traffic and then stopped his car and got out to yell because he was distressed that we were slowing things down. So now Joe's coming at this moment at 30 miles an hour and he sees a guy pull in front and stop. And he, much like in the movie, there was a sort of Vico-vision moment where he had to assess his options. And option 1 was go straight and hit the guy. You don't want to do that. Option 2 would be to veer to the right into live traffic, but those are real people who don't know you're coming and don't care that you're making a movie and certainly aren't expecting it, so they might hit you and die, and you'll die. You don't want that. So then option 3 is go to the left. And he couldn't really see to the left because the guy was blocking it, but he just hoped that if he went left, there wouldn't be anybody there. And that was the best of bad options, so he went left, and unfortunately there was cab there. So,
man, you deserve a medal just for that.
The other detail is that and it is partially my fault. The whole thing was a perfect storm of things. Any of the factors, if you had taken one out, it probably would have been okay, but so many things all went wrong at the same time. It was partially my fault because I was going too fast. And we were shooting that scene with the camera mounted on the back of a motorcycle, which looks really cool, and a lot of the movie is shot that way. But I had gotten ahead of the motorcycle, and so when I managed to avoid the diplomat, but then I was headed straight for this cab, and I would have gone around the cab, but I thought in that case I would be cutting off the motorcycle, which is also not what you want to do, so I ended up going into the back of the cab and just jumped up over the handlebars and through the rear windshield of the taxi.
That must have been the worst accident you'd ever had in your life, I bet, on a movie set.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, we have the honor? Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
That's all right. It's okay.
So, David, John, I keep calling you Tony. Why am I calling you Tony? You look like a Tony, that's why.
I never thought of a Tony before.
When you guys were writing the script, were you thinking of a quote-unquote biker bar? Was that part of the image? Do these places exist?
We can get to a bar.
They do exist. We shot at Joe's, which is a real place where a lot of bike messengers hang out. So that we definitely wanted that kind of reality and that kind of feel to it.
I also didn't know that there were actually, did you say 1,500 bike messengers in New York? Is that
there
true?
are. There
wow.
are. They're still out there. Once you become aware of it, and hopefully after every man, woman, and child in America sees the film, they will be. You notice them a lot more. But part of their job is to sort of zip by and not be, not have you notice. So there's still a lot of need to get stuff to places.
Did you want to trail a bike messenger, like follow him in his day-to-day life? Was that something that you were into?
I rode around with a couple bike messengers, and we rode around town. I didn't trail them on their actual job duties because they would be going faster than what I would be to keep up with.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of my 4 stunt doubles. There's me and 4 other guys that play this character, and they all have their own specialties. And one of them was an actual, and continues to be an actual bike messenger, and he's actually one of the fastest in the world, if not the fastest in the world. And he happens to look like me, so we made a good double. His name's Austin Horse.
Yeah, I was thinking, which people were you, which people were actually doing the stunts. So what stunts did you actually do?
I rode the bike all the time.
Yeah.
The movie's kind of one long stunt.
Yeah.
You did all the stunts over the car and like all those wheelies and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
too?
that was all me. No.
Most of the car
that
jumping was a guy, a Scottish guy named Danny McCaskill, who's got a great series of movies that he's made on YouTube. And we actually, John had become aware, or Tony had become aware.
You're going to be called Tony from now on.
Tony had become aware of him and sent me the video while we were outlining, I think. And so we sort of designed, we said, well, we got to get this guy in. So we sort of designed a sequence around him because we had to get Joe's character into a place where he could logically get on that bike so that it wasn't bullshit.
It's a different kind of bike that you ride to do those tricks.
Oh, yeah.
So we wanted that to
keeping
flow
the chase
naturally.
fresh, because it couldn't be bike on car the whole way. Some bike on foot, some bike against bike. It was a different one. Yeah.
And that one we called bike versus gravity.
Is there also a cautionary tale in this? Like, you must wear a helmet, you should have brakes, maybe you shouldn't be talking on the phone while you're riding a bicycle and checking your GPS.
Well, we don't say you should have brakes. Actually, we don't make that point because you should be in control of your bike. And the truth is, once you're really good at it, to not have brakes is a better way to go on a fixie. You can control the bike much better, which you found. You actually came to like a fixie better than a bike with gears.
It's true, yeah. And I think the cool metaphor is that when you hesitate, that's when dangerous stuff starts to happen. Bikes are safer when they're going fast. They're designed to stay up when they're moving. And I think that's a cool metaphor for just how life is. That if you hesitate too much and get caught up in indecision, you'll falter. But if you confidently just, proceed in the direction that you know you need to go, things tend to go better.
I don't know. I got to think about that.
Well said. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining me.
Sure, pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Blog Talk Radio, where millions of hosts and listeners gather.
In quadrophenia.
That might take me a little too far back to college.
I know. I'm so happy. So yeah, it was a little pricey.
It was a little pricey, but fit so perfectly that we were willing to tailor some of our other choices around getting that.
Now, Joe, did you take spin classes? How did you prepare for this bike messenger?
I rode a bike, not a stationary one, a real one. But I
zipping around Manhattan, huh?
Yeah, I started training at home in LA for 6 weeks, just riding every day, and then got here and rode every day while we were shooting. I certainly didn't want to make the film crew wait for me while I caught my breath, so I wanted to be in shape.
You got in fantastic shape because there were 2 components to it. One was just building up a level of endurance where he could ride 10 to 12 hours a day and act.
Blog Talk Radio, the world's largest online radio network.
I'm milling about with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and David Koepp and our friend Tony. who's sitting in the back. John, I'm
John,
sorry.
yeah.
John.
Hello.
Hi.
Do you want to start over?
Take two.
Everybody gets another take. All right. John Camps.
This is
co-writer.
streaming. Okay, gotcha.
We didn't introduce properly. John Camps is the co-writer. It also set up our soundtrack, which we wanted to be rock and roll. You know, just from the beginning, when John and I started the script, we thought 2 guitars, bass, drum. Those are our instruments.
Right. Did you have, how easy or hard was it to get the rights to that song?
Not so terribly hard. You know, a little pricey. But you know, the guys in the Who, God bless them, they got country estates.
They're touring again. Can you believe it?
They're going to do Quadrophenia?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
You guys, you got me at Baba O'Reilly. Done. I am the hugest Who fan on the planet.
I remember when I saw the first cut that had that on it, and I was like, wait, we're not really going to have this song, are we? And I remember asking you, and you're like, yeah, we got that. I'm like, wow, that's cool. Yeah,
it's an awesome song. It's a great song. It's probably the most famous E chords in rock and roll, I think. And so it started the movie perfectly, but